Hey guys, we're at top of the world. Laguna Beach is just down there. Beautiful day. We've been riding all around, and this is the BULLS AMINGA EVA TR1. It's a tighter, lower platform from BULLS. Only comes in 2 frame sizes, where a lot of their other EMTBs come in 4. Only 1 colorway, and it's pretty nice. This is sort of a gender neutral matte black or satin black with like kind of a deep red, a little bit of a fuchsia kind of in there. But I've got to say, I mean, this bike is pretty unique and special because it is a little bit smaller. My mom likes to ride bikes, and she's always looking for something that's doesn't feel too big and unwieldy. So the fact that this has 27.5 wheels, it lowers the platform a little bit, and again, not quite as long. The geometry on this, it's not super raked out, because cross country, yeah, it is kind of like in between. A lot of times cross country is a hardtail, so having full suspension, I'm a fan of that. It's much more comfortable, and it's pretty nice parts there too. So I guess jumping back to just some of the hardware on this, these are the Schwalbe knobby neck tires, 27.5 by 2.6, so they are plus size, meaning they're a little bit wider. Plus is 2.6, 2.8, or 3, so it's sort of the narrowest of the plus size. It's going to give it a little bit more stability, some traction, some float, and I think these can be set up as tubeless if you want. You can run them at a lower tire pressure, which is a neat benefit. Save a little bit of weight. The bike weighs about 57 pounds, so it is a little bit heavier, but you're getting the super high capacity Bosch Power Tube 625. That's the highest capacity of their 4th generation power tubes, and you're getting a really nice display and an interface up here that we'll talk about in a little bit. But coming back down to the hubs and everything, this is boost hub spacing 110 millimeters with a sturdy 15 millimeter through axle with quick release up there, and in the rear 148 millimeters with a 12 millimeter through axle. And this one you need like a hex wrench to do any kinds of adjustments on it. Get sturdier bracing on those spokes, nice black hubs, spokes, rims, and I think the rear spokes are a little bit thicker as well, so adding some strength there. The suspension fork, I love that this thing has the black anodized stanchions, and they're pretty beefy, 35 millimeters, so you're not going to get this like flex. It's a sturdy fork. You can sag the air pressure based on your body weight. You've got a lockout adjustment here, and it's kind of like a clicker, so it feels like it's progressive, maybe more of a compression adjustment. Down here we have rebound adjust, so like how quickly the fork rebounds. It's a nice setup, and we have a lot of the same adjustments back here on the SR Suntour rear suspension. I've got details on these back at the site to kind of dial it in, but Chris, do you have anything else to say about just the suspension design in the rear and the choices on shocks here?
We wanted to give something that was going to get you through the rocky, chunky stuff that could handle some drops, those kinds of things, but not be too big. It still keeps the platform lower, keeps it a little bit lighter weight.
Just a minute ago, we were looking at a 150 millimeter travel at that more like all mountain. So coming back to the cross country trail makes a lot of sense. And I want to compliment that they've added this little mud guard up front. It's just all set up. You don't have to use zip ties or anything, and it matches. I keep talking about how everything matches. To me, that's nice. It just makes the bike look really clean and beautiful. With a heavier bike that you might be taking down some steeper trails, it's important to have good brakes, and we've got Shimano here. Adjustable brake levers because they're hydraulic, a large 203 millimeter rotor up front with quad piston caliper, so that's a nice little upgrade. The larger diameter gives you a mechanical advantage, and there's more surface area so it can cool more efficiently. And in the back we've got 180 millimeter rotor with dual piston caliper, just kind of standard. As you stop, and especially as you're descending, a lot of the weight sort of shifts forward, so to me that's a nice little upgrade. 165 millimeter crank arms with these BULLS plastic platform pedals. You could upgrade those to something like a magnesium with adjustable pins. Lots of good choices, but these aren't bad. And there is some armor on the bottom of the motor as well, some plastic. Looking at the drivetrain closely, we've got a 34 tooth narrow wide chain ring, so it's really going to grab that chain. It slots perfectly in between the links, and we've got a plastic guide up here so it won't drop off as easily. And you can imagine on a bike like this, you're going on really bumpy terrain or washboard terrain. We did that earlier, and it's nice to just feel confident that this is going to hold up. Plastic slap guard, a little bit beefier And then we've got a great derailleur, Shimano Dior XT with the clutch, so we can engage that, and it just tightens this up so that the chain won't bounce around quite as much. Really wide spread on this 12-speed cassette, 10 to 51 tooth, and that really large sprocket is just going to help you get started and help you climb efficiently, and it really does. I mean, we climbed some very steep stuff. The problem wasn't motor power, it wasn't having the right gears, it was like a bike that's a little small for me. I was just trying to keep the front down, you know, and so it was really thrilling. We actually accelerated up part of the trail, and that was neat to see. Just kind of changes the way you ride when you get on an electric bike like this. Again, the weight is low in center with the motor there and the battery in the down tube, really hidden. It's a very stealthy design too. This is the Bosch Performance Line CX motor, 4th generation, with a magnesium housing, a little bit lighter, 6.39 pounds on this. It measures your rear wheel speed, and the magnet is actually tucked in really tight. It's mounted to the hub, kind of like the disc brake rotor. And so it used to be a magnet, and there was a reader that could get bumped out of place and get dirty. This is much sturdier. And then the motor itself, it's measuring pedal cadence and pedal torque, so how hard you're pushing. It's measuring those 3 signals over 1,000 times per second, and it's also dynamically adjusting. If it senses that you're shifting gears, the motor eases off a bit so you don't chew up those sprockets. Now, it's best practice to also ease off as the pedaler, you know, get a little speed, start shifting and ease back for a second, and so that chain can get to the right sprocket, and then pedal again. So the motor is working with you on that, and it's so sensitive and responsive. It's one of the better systems in my opinion, and I'm enjoying how it's performing. So maybe the last thing to talk about here is the battery. And I think Chris might be able to help me on this. Before we actually show it, I want to really compliment this design. See, there's a kind of push here and open this. It reminds me of like a Tesla door handle or something. And there's a charging port as well as a locking cylinder, and they're perfectly positioned on the right-hand side of the bike. Again, a lot of times with a heavy-duty mountain bike, you don't have a kickstand. Now they do have like 20mm provision. You can mount a kickstand to this if you want to, but if you do that the whole way, you're gonna hear like da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. The kickstand's gonna be bouncing around. So they don't ship it with a kickstand, and that means people are gonna lay the bike down on the left-hand side because you don't wanna lay it down on the derailleur. And having both of these accessible on the right-hand side up high on the frame like this is just wonderful. The charger that they ship with the bike is the standard charger from Bosch, but it's a really good one. This is 4 amps, so it's faster than most. It's fairly lightweight at about 1.6 pounds. It's got a removable wall side plug and a proprietary interface right there. I love this charger, and I think hopefully I was calling this out earlier, but the bike comes with this Monkey Link interface. It ships with some reflectors and stuff. I think you have to for compliance, but that's magnetic, so you can pull that off and you can mount a rear light, and there's another one up front. You can mount this headlight, and you can actually adjust the beam. So that's a perfect position. It's up high, it points where you steer, you can aim the beam down, and it all runs off of that battery pack. I mean, I really like that. So this is what the rear light looks like. It just kind of slots in on the back with 3 LEDs. You have to pay extra for those. They don't come stock, but worth mentioning. And back to the battery for a second. So what we would do is, you know, plug this in, make sure you're charging it up after each ride. But if you're someone who is trying to really be careful with your battery pack, and you're taking it inside because you live in a very cold or hot environment, you can do that pretty easily. You just insert the key. It's an ABUS key-to-like key, so you can actually match it to folding locks and other accessories from ABUS. So he's twisting it. There's this first step, and then he pushes a tab and takes the battery all the way out. This is like 7.5 pounds. It's got a little LED charge level indicator at the bottom, and that's the same plug interface that we see here. So it's the same charger. So I'm going over this thoroughly because extreme heat can be damaging. It's going to limit your number of full charge cycles for a lithium-ion battery pack. And again, a lot of times with such a high capacity battery, 625 watt hours, you don't necessarily have to charge after every single ride. But keep in mind, you're leaving it in your hot or cold garage, it's going to impact the cells. Extreme cold is going to significantly sometimes stunt your range. So you might think you have half a battery and then realize like, whoa, I'm not getting all the range. Just keep that in mind. Taking that off, maybe storing it in the laundry room or someplace that has a more neutral temperature. So he's lining this back up at the bottom. He has to actively twist the key to get it part way in, and then there's that last step there. For me, I kind of wish you could just push it in, it would click right in. Maybe this is extra sturdy. It's something I call out all the time with the Bosch battery design. It's not necessarily a commentary on Bulls, but that's like a two-hand job, and I'm so grateful to have Chris here helping me. I think a lot of times I'd be like laying the bike down and just kind of taking my time lining everything up. So there's that. You know, Bosch stuff is really high quality and lasts a long time. They've got a bunch of even like Bosch certified dealers you can go in and get help from. And I think Bulls has like 200 plus dealers in North America, right, Chris?
Yep.
Yeah, its company's been around since 1997. It's a German company, sell all over the world. And just being able to go in and get fitted and even try something like this, having access to an e-bike that's a little bit smaller and has that sloped top tube, I think those are all really good things. Thanks again for, you know, maybe just stabilizing it for a minute there, Chris. Yep. As a final point on the battery, I just want to point out that this cover, it doesn't lock to the frame with the key. It's just a little latch down here. So remember to put it back on, and also keep in mind that if you're at a bike rack or something, people could mess with that and take it. I kind of wish it was more secure, but I also like that it's lightweight and affordable. Some of the older Bulls batteries had like a metal plate that was like bolted to the pack, and it just added weight, and you know, it had to be color matched and stuff. There's a lot of black going on with the bikes. The black cables and everything match. This is all internally routed through the frame. It looks really clean, and they've even done that with the stem. So this is sort of a rectangular stem. They've got these spacers that add a little bit of space, so you can bring those cables in and just make everything look beautiful. So we're almost to the display, but I do want to call out this Cellular Royale saddle. It's Vivo branded, so it's sort of co-branded with Bulls. We have a 30.9 millimeter seat post, and it comes with a dropper post. So that's really nice. You can drop this down if you're descending. You can use your legs as shock absorbers, and then for climbing, you can pop it back up and you get that full leg extension. I'm a big fan, and I like that that's black as well. Locking flat grips up here, pretty clean cockpit. And then the shifter, Shimano Dior. We've got two-way on the high lever, so you can push or pull, and then a multi-shift. 3 shifts there. You can dump the gears for when you're ready to climb. We got the dropper post lever over here, and then the kiosk itself. Before I turn it on, I want to mention that it's removable, so that's really cool. You can just take this off the bike and people can't tamper with it. This display actually has a little micro USB port built into the bottom, and I think you can charge phones and portable electronics off of this. That's pretty neat. Some of the newer systems don't actually have that. They have a little USB-C that's more for diagnostics. To turn this thing on, we just press the power button for a couple seconds. I think it has a Gorilla Glass screen, so it's really sturdy if this bounces off. You don't have to leave this as removable, by the way. You can use a little set screw in the bottom, and it'll be more of a permanent thing. We have a dedicated headlight button, which would be great if you actually get those Monkey Link aftermarket parts. And then most of the buttons are over here on the left: plus, minus, left, right, select, and walk mode up on top. That can be useful if you're climbing a steep section and you're more comfortable pushing the bike. And, you know, 57 pounds, it's nice if that motor helps you. So as we press plus or minus, we're going to go through the levels of assist. Right now it's off. We got Eco is the lowest, Tour, EMTB, which is a dynamic mode where it's really based on like how hard you're pushing more than anything, and it can be a little bit of power or a whole lot. And then up to Turbo. Turbo is red. So you might have noticed the colors change because it's still kind of a small display. You can adjust the angle to reduce glare, but if you can just see the color, you get a sense for what assist level you're in. And then we have speed in the middle. Up in the top, we have battery percentage, very precise 1% increments. We're at 77% right now. There's a clock there. Pressing left and right will give us some more readouts, like range. Oh, and range is so cool. As I adjust the assist level, it dynamically updates. So 28 miles, 43 miles in Eco. That's great. And then we can see our trip distance, trip time, my power in watts, your RPM pedal cadence. By the way, the Bosch motor, it can support over 120 RPM, so you can pedal really fast and the motor won't fade out on you. It's a big deal. And then beats per minute. There is a heart rate monitor connectivity option with this. That's pretty great if you're someone who's into fitness and maintaining just the right level. You could adjust your assist level with your body power and, you know, hit that target rate. And current speed, max speed, distance, all this stuff. So it's a pretty cool display. There's really a lot here. There's even some settings, and you can connect your phone to this. So there's this Bosch eBike Connect smartphone app, and Chris might have that up. It's got like a feed of news. You can see the activities you've done, like your rides, for example. You can see a map, and it shows where you are, and you could look for the nearest restaurant maybe, and it'll help you get there. I think it even shows up on the screen when you connect the two. And then your bike, so you can get some more feedback about just the status and version number and stuff. And then you could work with the shop if there are any updates, something like that. So it's pretty cool. But there is another app called the eBike Flow, and that's for the smart system. And you'll see kind of a mix of those depending on which bike you're looking at. Okay, we're getting on. I like to take it to EMTB because it's most dynamic. If you don't push real hard, the motor is real light. And then as soon as you need it, like say you start climbing, it kicks right in. Pretty easy to get up to that 20-mile-per-hour top speed. And it's got a lot of float and stability because the tires are a little bit wider. So I'm a big fan of that, especially as you start to go off-road and get into the washboard. They are 27.5 versus 29, but that keeps the bike lower to the ground, and it keeps it the shorter wheelbase we were talking about. Even in the bright sun like this, for me, the display is readable. And of course I can adjust the angle a little bit if I'm getting glare. Worked pretty well. Just avoid the ruts and stuff. The brake's really smooth. Nice to have the bigger rotor on the front and just ease into it. So that's great. Oh yeah. Beautiful. Well guys, that's the BULLS AMINGA TR1. Pretty cool to see this bike. I've actually covered older versions of it, and you know, it's neat to have a platform that's a little bit lower and a little bit smaller. BULLS has quite a few bikes, and I think it's nice to see like the Bosch system integrated so well, and top of the line Bosch stuff too. A high capacity battery. Back at ElectricBikeReview.com, I've got all the specs that we measured by hand. I've also got a comparison tool, so you could look at this one maybe versus an older one if you found it used, or some other company, maybe they have a shorter wheelbase, lower standover mountain bike like this. My goal is to help you. This is just a free review, aside from some hotel help and just getting up here with Chris. My goal is to be objective and help you find the right bike. I've got some forums, and there's the comments, so you can ask other people what they think, and if they've bought this bike, maybe there's some accessories they've tried and really like. Either way, I love you, ride safe, and we'll see you next time.